A few months ago, I spent 7 days in pitch darkness, complete isolation, and pure silence to confront my fear of stillness. This is a fear that I've come to learn that almost everybody has, but nobody knows they have it. When I ask people, what are you scared about? No one has ever said, I'm scared of stillness. But yet when I dig deeper, when I really get to understand people and share about stillness, almost everybody acknowledges that they do have a fear of stillness and that it is scary, because it is scary. It is hard to go deep within our souls, to confront the chaos of consciousness, to find out what is buried within our souls and in our subconscious brain. So we do everything possible to run away from ourselves. And this world, it does not make it conducive to go within. We constantly have distractions, our phones, our laptop, binge watching TV, drinking, drugs, working out, running. Sometimes even those positive things can be a way to just run away from ourselves. We're constantly running away from ourselves because stillness is hard. And after I broke my sobriety, I knew that there were some gaps still within me that I hadn't really confronted, and I need to go face that. So I decided to go into 7 days of darkness, which is why I'm now shooting this series of videos about my experience in this darkness retreat. In the last video, I shared a bit more about what drove me to go choose to do this thing, the value of engaging stillness, and a little bit about my story and why I got into engaging fear at this level and really exploring the most extreme way possible to engage any kind of fear, which is why I spent 7 days in darkness to engage fear of stillness, because of course that was the only option for me to do. Now in this video, what I'm going to share more about is the logistics. When I first did this thing and I started sharing it a little bit about with people, people kept asking me, what's the logistics of spending 7 days in darkness? How do you eat? How do you go to the bathroom? All that kind of stuff. So in the last video, I shared about the context of what drove me into the darkness retreat. In this video, I'm going to share about the logistics of life in darkness for 7 days straight. My name is Akshay Nanavati. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, ultra runner, adventurer, and creator of Fearvana, the birthplace of boundless bliss. Now, when I went into the 7 days of darkness, I found this retreat that was in Germany. I did a lot of research into darkness retreats, and this one really looked just the best. Not to talk trash about the other ones, I'm sure they're all amazing, but this one looked amazing. Logistically, it kind of worked out for me. It was between India and the US, so I chose this one in Germany. I spoke to the lady there, Bharti. She runs this darkness retreat in Germany. Amazing woman. So I said, okay, let me go into this one. Now, they had a lot of options, which was very cool, that a lot of other ones I did not see have this way to kind of customize your experience in the dark. The one thing that is universal, no matter what, in the darkness retreat is the darkness. The darkness is the teacher. But you could choose how you want to experience the darkness in other ways. So for example, with food, you had 3 options in this particular darkness retreat. You could do a water fast, choose only smoothies, or have regular food. Now, I didn't want to do a pure water fast because I'm pretty skinny. I'm an ultra runner and I couldn't afford to really lose more weight. When I came out of the darkness, I would of course get back into my running routine. So I decided to do the sort of the middle ground where I'm doing smoothies. This way, I would still experience the deprivation of food, the hunger, because of course I wanted to add more suffering to the experience of the darkness. Now, I say that jokingly, but there's truth to it, of course. There's the value for that. I wanted to experience a little bit more intensity, experience more suffering, experience more pain. I wanted to feel the pangs of hunger because, again, this would force me to face different areas within my soul to confront pain at a different level. So I decided to do the middle ground. I decided to do smoothies throughout the 7 days in my darkness retreat. Now, you could actually change the options if you wanted to. Let's say I got too hungry. I could do food. I could change the option into food or reduce it into pure water fast, and I'll explain how that worked as well. Now, another option they had was you could engage with a counselor. They had a counselor there that would come in 1 hour a day, every day. You'd still be completely in the dark, but the counselor would come in and you could kind of talk through the stuff that was showing up within. Another option, you could do group counseling. So sometimes people come do it in groups. I mean, they're in their own room, but they'll come out with wearing an eye mask, like an eye mask that completely covers. So they're still completely in darkness, but they would come out and collectively do a sort of group counseling session. I chose to do none of those. I wanted to really be still within myself. I didn't want to talk at all. I didn't want to engage anything else. I just really wanted to go deep within. And the lady who runs the darkness retreat told me that that's pretty rare for a person to do that on their first try, which in her, and I'm not saying this in sort of in a bragging way or anything, but what she told me is that the reason I was able to do this and chose this is because I had confronted a lot of my demons already in the past of having faced my depression, alcoholism, overcoming all that stuff to write Fearvana. So I had confronted a lot of my demons. So she said it was rare that people would spend 7 days in complete isolation without talking at all to anyone. But that was my choice. I knew I was relatively ready for it. Of course, I had the fear of stillness, which is why I was choosing to do this anyway. So I chose to not engage with anybody, and I chose the smoothie option. So how does that work? So you're in an isolated room. The room is essentially a bed, a little nightstand next to it, a couch, then there's a little table here, then there's the toilet and shower, and a sink. So just a small little room that you're staying in for the entire 7 days. But whenever they come to bring food, somebody will come outside, ring a little bell, put your smoothie on a little table that's right outside the door. It's in a hallway that is still pitch dark. It's important to have complete darkness. And in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, of why and the logistics. I mean, the value, the spiritual experience of being in complete darkness, and why there cannot be even this much exposure to light, not even for a second, because it actually does a lot in your brain and the neuroscience of it. So we'll talk more about that in the next video. In this video, I want to stay focused on logistics. So they come in, they drop a smoothie on this little table, they'll ring a bell to let you know that your food is there. And I would often wait because I didn't want to, again, engage with people. In this case, I really wanted to be still. So I'd wait for them to kind of leave that hallway, open the door, grab my smoothie, come back into my room, drink my smoothie, and put it back on the counter once I was done. So they would do this 3 times a day, but they would do it at different times during the day. So you wouldn't actually have a sense of a ritual. You wouldn't know it's coming every day at 9, at 1 o'clock or anything. It would do it at different hours, so you don't really have a sense of hours. Your time essentially disappears. Now, in this particular darkness retreat, you could hear what was happening outside. So I had a sense of days because in the morning, I would hear the birds chirping. So I had a sense of morning and night, but I didn't have a sense of hours. That was complete blur because I could sleep and not have no idea, of course, how much I'm sleeping. When I was meditating, I'd have no idea how long I'm meditating. It could have been hours, and some of them were, as I'll talk more about as I go deep into the experience of the darkness retreat and the profundity of all that came from it. So that was essentially how the food worked. 3 times a day they bring it, and you really don't know what time it is. You just kind of have a sense of the days because you could hear the birds chirping in the morning. Now, bathroom. There was, of course, everybody asked about that as well when I first started sharing this. So there was a little toilet, a shower, so you could shower, and you're doing all of this in the dark, and there was a sink as well. Now with the toilet, because I think some people have asked, and this was actually kind of funny, I did not want to pee everywhere all over the toilet and in the bathroom, right? Because of course not. I did not want that. That would be disgusting. So I would pee with the toilet seat down. And a funny note about that is, I don't know if you've ever seen the Chappelle Show, but there's this hilarious Chappelle Show skit where this one white guy goes into this house filled with all these black people, and he calls it the mad real world, and it's like this one white guy in the mad real world with all these black people, and it's absolutely hilarious. I love the Chappelle Show. But there's one point where Charlie Murphy, I'll share the link below this because it's totally worth seeing, but this came in my mind, that's why I'm sharing this right now, a lot when I was, at least for the first few days while I was in the darkness. There's one point where Charlie Murphy's character, he tells this one white dude in the house that in here, you sit when you pee. It's hilarious. You have to watch the show to really understand the context, but it is hilarious. Charlie Murphy's character in that is absolutely amazing. I think his name was Tyrese. It was great, yeah. So he was like, in here, you sit when you pee. So for the first few days when I would sit when I was peeing, I was thinking about Charlie Murphy and Tyrese. That always brought a smile to my face. So point being, not everything in the darkness retreat was a deeply profound spiritual experience. Sometimes you're just laughing about silly things. That also happened. Anyway, so that's how I go to the toilet. Everything you kind of map out. Before I turned off the lights, I had a sense of the room, of course. I set up I knew what the room looked like. And then everything, I would feel my way to everything. Once I come out of the bathroom, close the door, go to the sink, everything, I would just kind of feel my way around it to really understand my world. And the beauty in doing this is it actually taught me a lot about creating a world around me now, even outside the darkness, that's very purposeful and intentional. In the darkness, you have to know where everything is. You can't just throw something anywhere because then you'll kind of forget. You're in complete darkness. You can't see it, right? So everything was systematically placed. I had a journal, which I'll talk about how I journaled in the dark as well. My clothes were placed in a certain way, so I knew where my shorts were because I used to work out sometimes in the dark. I'll talk again all about that in future videos. But everything was very systematically placed, so I knew where it would be in the dark. So that's food. That's the toilet. Now journaling. Of course, I knew a lot of stuff would show up within, and I didn't want to lose that. So some parts of the darkness were basically just me sitting still meditating. Some parts were just nonsensical thoughts. Some parts were just me thinking, oh shit, I have a long time left in the dark. That definitely showed up. And other parts were me journaling, allowing my mind to go where it goes, and the profundity of what showed up was incredible. So how did I journal in the dark? Let's talk about the logistics of it. Again, we're going to talk about what showed up a little later. I had a little journal, and what I would do is I'd place another pad under it to act as a kind of ruler and just write, and then I would move it down, write, move it down, write. In the next video, I'm going to show you the actual journal, and that's how I journaled in the dark. And of course, it wasn't crystal clear. Thankfully, I could still read it. My handwriting is pretty bad regularly, even if I'm not writing in the dark, but thankfully I could still read 99% of my journal. There was a few words here and there I couldn't after I came out. But it was good enough. I mean, in one huge page, when you have, let's say 30 lines, it would end up being just 6 lines, because of course it'd be spread out. It wasn't exactly in the lines, of course, but I nonetheless was able to journal. And this is how I was able to process the experience, really figure out what was going on within me. Because with journaling in the dark, I don't even think of it as me consciously writing what came out. It was almost as if it was my subconscious writing through me. That's why when I reread my journal, like after coming out of the darkness, when I reread my journal, some parts of it sent me to tears, because it wasn't even me writing it. It was just showing up within. Call it what you want in your own version of spirituality, God, the divine. But for me, in my experience, it was just this profundity, these things just showing up within. Sometimes it was, yes, me consciously kind of, writing it. Other times it was just free flowing and letting my thoughts go where they go, as these thoughts, these experiences, these answers to deep questions that I had really struggled with for a long time were showing up in my writing, which of course I'll be sharing more about as we go through this series on the Darkness Retreat. But in this video, I just wanted to share a little bit about the logistics. So as I said, that's how I got my food, that's how I covered the toilet. I went for a shower a few times, of course, and really was still within myself, journaling in the dark and spending 7 days in there before I came out. Now, when I first shared this through Facebook and social media channels, a lot of people were asking different questions about logistics. So if you have any questions about the logistics of living life in a Darkness Retreat, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions about anything, not just the logistics about the Darkness Retreat, let me know in the comments below, because I could not recommend this highly enough. It is very intense, of course, but I would highly recommend almost everybody do this, because I guarantee you, no matter what your role in life, no matter how much you've struggled, no matter what you've experienced in life, I guarantee you something will show up. Even if you've done a Vipassana before, even if you, very self-aware, spiritually aware, you journal, everything, I guarantee you something will show up when you go into the darkness. The lady who runs the Darkness Retreat, she has done a lot on her spiritual journey. She spent like months in silence retreat. She spent a month in the cave, been to ashrams all over India. I mean, she's done a lot, really done everything. And she said nothing has enhanced and accelerated her spiritual evolution, her spiritual awakening, like the darkness, which is why she started her own Darkness Retreat. Amazing woman, just this depth of spiritual experience she had, Bharti, and I'm happy to share. I'll actually share the link to the Darkness Retreat under this video as well. The depth of spiritual experiences she had, deeply profound, and she's done it all that you can possibly imagine. And so she herself was like, nothing has accelerated her spiritual evolution like being in the dark. So I highly recommend this, which is why I'm sharing this whole series about the Darkness Retreat. As I said, if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. I will check them, and in this series I will respond to every single question I get about the Darkness Retreat. And in the meantime, hit like on this video, subscribe to my channel, join me on this journey, not just into the Darkness Retreat, but even beyond that, to figure out how do we all live a happier, more fulfilling life, how do we create that life of boundless bliss, and ultimately achieve mastery in any area, because mastery in any area, the pursuit of mastery, is the pathway to a life of boundless bliss. So join me on this journey, subscribe to the Fearvana channel, and I'll see you again soon.